Canto 7, Chapter 8, verse number... I wasn't here yesterday. What?
7, 8.
As a snake captures a mouse, or Garuda captures a very venomous...
Yeah, this is Prabhu did, Lakshmana put it.
Next one is Lord Nishingadeva's mouth and mane were sprinkled with drops of blood. Yes. Just read that one and go to the next one, has one more purport. I'll read this one. Sanramba Dishpriksha Karalochano Yatanam Nantam Vilihan Svajivaya Asidrava Taruna Kesharanano Tantra Maliti Pahatya Hari. Lord Nishingadeva's mouth and mane were sprinkled with drops of blood, and his fierce eyes, full of anger, were impossible to look at. Licking the edge of his mouth with his tongue, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nishingadeva, decorated with a garland of intestines taken from Hiranyakashipu's abdomen, resembled a lion that had just killed an elephant. I'll read the quote. The hair on Lord Nishingadeva's face, being sprinkled with drops of blood, was reddish and looked very beautiful. Lord Nishingadeva pierced Hiranyakashipu's abdomen with his nails, pulled out the demon's intestines, and wore them as a garland, which enhanced his beauty. Thus the Lord became very fearsome, like a lion engaged in fighting an elephant. Ordinarily, you wouldn't describe a person who had blood in his hair and intestines around his neck for a garland as beautiful. But this is God we're talking about here. So, and of course, in many religions, I've heard in the Muslim tradition that it's mostly awe and reverence and fear of God. And of course, when Krishna says that, the fire burns out of fear of me, or wind blows out of fear of me. So there's definitely a place for fear in the understanding of God, but especially in the material world. The material world is full of fear, and it's a manifestation of Krishna's punishment on us, the conditioned souls. That the material world is a fearful place by design. It's not an accident that everyone's afraid. Everyone is afraid because of... It's like a criminal. When a criminal, it might be a billionaire criminal, stealing, doing like a Ponzi scheme or something crooked with millions or billions of dollars, or it might be a crook just beating somebody up and stealing their wallet. And anyone who's a criminal, they have to be afraid immediately, because they know that I got away with it, I got the guy's wallet and I ran away, or I stole billions of dollars from all these people, and the government hasn't caught me, so I got away with it. I escaped and I have the money, but they have to always live in fear, because they know that they committed a crime, and in any second the police can come knocking on their door and drag them out and throw them in jail or anything. So they have to live in fear every second, even if they have plenty of money. So everyone in the material world is a criminal. All except the devotees. The devotees are the good people, the good guys. all the conditioned souls, as we were just recently, we were also in that category of thieves and criminals. Now we're reformed, but anyone who's living as a criminal in the kingdom of God lives in fear. Has to live in fear all the time. So, so there's definitely an aspect of fear in worship of God, and sometimes it's not misplaced, but in our tradition, and ultimately the ultimate tradition of actual religion, Prabhupada frequently said that it doesn't matter what religious tradition you follow, if you're actually developing your dormant love of God, because ultimately love of God is what religion is. Religion basically has the same meaning as the word yoga, means to link, like L-I-G in religion is same as like ligament, it's to tie together, and yoga means the same thing, to link with God. So ultimately religion or yoga is actually religion or yoga if you're progressively developing, remembering our dormant love for God. And then it's bona fide religion. And there's that statement in the New Testament, Jesus, you should love the Lord thy God with all your heart and all your soul, all your mind. The love of God is what Krishna consciousness is all about, and what religion is about. And Prabhupada said that, said on the first Radhastami in 1966, they had just gone through the very difficult austerity of fasting all day and Janmastami, and that was when the first initiation ceremony was, and that was 2 weeks later is Radhastami, and of course no one had ever heard of Radhastami before, nobody knew what it was until Prabhupada told them, and no one knew what Janmastami was until Prabhupada told them. And anyway, Prabhupada said on Radhastami, he said on Janmastami we fast till midnight, because Krishna is kind of strict and tough, and on Radhastami we fast till noon, because Radharani is very soft-hearted and kind, so she only fasts till noon. That's one thing he said. And the other thing he said, maybe not the only other thing, but the other thing that Satsvarup Maharaj always mentions, he got initiated on the first Radhastami, and I was with him yesterday, and I mentioned it, we talked about that a little bit, just briefly, the first Radhastami, and he said, yeah, very simple, Radharani is the best devotee of Krishna because she loves Krishna the most. There's all kinds of descriptions of Radharani and how she's the best devotee of Krishna, and on and on. You can quote so many things, but that's the essence of it. In just one sentence, is that Radharani is the best devotee of Krishna because she loves Krishna the most. So we pray to Radharani, approach Krishna through Radharani, and to get Krishna's blessing. Srimati Radharani is pleased with somebody and recommends someone to Krishna, and Krishna will immediately accept us. Srimati Radharani is recommending us all our spiritual masters, representative of Srimati Radharani, is bringing us to Krishna. We pray the Lord Nityananda, the original spiritual master, to bring us to Krishna, and to Lord Chaitanya, to Krishna. So you could say we're covered on all sides, and we're guaranteed of success in our pursuit of Krishna consciousness just by following the very simple process of Krishna consciousness. Just chant Hare Krishna. Just come to the temple or live in the temple. Just make garlands for Radharani and Krishna, for Prabhupada. Just cook for Krishna. Just preach about Krishna. Chant and go out on Harinam, go out on book distribution. Very, very, very simple things. And sincere and serious individuals. So we're sure to get Krishna's mercy. Is that quote from, that I refer to now frequently, from Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that because I'm following the standard or the basic practices of Krishna consciousness, I'm sure to go, the Ashabandha means the great hope. And because I'm following the standard methods of devotional service, I'm sure I will go back home, back to Godhead. So, and there's no higher authority than Rupa Goswami. So we should always feel sure and certain. Yes, we're fallen souls. There's no doubt about that. Yes, we have all kinds of envy and greed and lust and all kinds of things still in our hearts. To some extent, they're greatly reduced. But the lust is there, the envy is still there, the greed and anger are all still there, just to an extent, greatly reduced. Well, it's like a cancer. They have ways of, like with lasers and things, or what's it called? What do they call that? The treatment they give you for cancer. Radiology. And it shrinks the cancer. It shrinks the size of the cancer, and then it can disappear. So so we're in definitely in the shrinking state of shrinking the lust, greed, anger, everything. The devotees in the temple are not like the average conditioned soul, because we're being treated, and the treatment is guaranteed to be effective. It's always effective. It cannot not be effective. Radiation therapy might be effective, sometimes might not be effective, but Krishna consciousness is sure to be effective in treating the material cancer or disease. So the devotee should always be confident and sure, bona fide spiritual master in disciplic succession directly from Krishna, directly from Lord Chaitanya, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, the head of our present branch of ISKCON is Srila Prabhupada, who's an intimate associate of Krishna. So, and our own spiritual master in disciplic succession is bona fide representative, pure devotee of Krishna in disciplic succession. So we should be confident. Devotees are confident. We're not puffed up. The devotees always have the feeling that I don't deserve it, I'm a fallen soul. Yeah, you're a fallen soul. That's taken for granted. That's just a fact. Otherwise you wouldn't be in the material world. You wouldn't be suffering. You wouldn't have, yeah, we're fallen souls. But that doesn't matter anymore. The only thing that matters now is Radharani's compassion and mercy and Krishna's mercy. That's why, so the women in general, one of the great qualities of women is that they have feelings and they have compassion for suffering people. They always try to help. So traditionally, at least as far as I know, traditionally, like nurses, not now, it's still mostly now, but nurses are women, and many men too, but mostly women are traditionally nurses, because they feel compassion for people who are suffering and they try to help. Now, mothers are always in anxiety about taking care of their children, and so it's a natural quality of a woman is to be compassionate and try to ease the suffering of people. So that's definitely represented to the ultimate degree in Srimati Radharani. In one place, and I forget where it is, but one purport in Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada said that of all Krishna's infinite qualities, his greatest quality is his mercy on the fallen souls. And that mercy is represented or personified and exhibited by Srimati Radharani. So she feels, it's not like Krishna is, and Radharani, it's not like they look at us, all the fallen souls in the material world, and they're not like, oh, well, they're fallen souls. Maybe someday they'll have a change of heart, and maybe they'll come back to me, maybe someday. And but for now, they're fallen souls. They're envious of me. They're not thinking like that. They feel compassion. Krishna and Radharani, they feel compassion for us because they know we're suffering in the material world. They're with us in our heart every moment. And so they know how much we're suffering because of our rebelliousness against Krishna, because of our neglect of Krishna. And they're just trying to help us. That's why Krishna comes in his various incarnations, unlimited incarnations, and that's why he sends his sons and his pure devotees to Srila Prabhupada to, you're the savior of the fallen souls. And that's a fact. And so, yeah, so Krishna is an active participant, and Brahma just read or heard, maybe it was on Monday in that lecture that you played from Prabhupada, that Krishna is anxious to save the fallen souls. So you might think, Krishna is anxious. Krishna is complete, he's swarat, he's completely independent, he's not anxious, and it's true, in his pastimes in Vrindavan, he's not anxious or worried about anything, but in his self, you can't separate his pastimes in Vrindavan from how he feels, and so it's not like I can analyze it like that. But the fact of the matter is that Krishna, the two things are true at the same time, that Krishna is enjoying infinitely or unlimitedly in the association of his pure devotees eternally, but at the same time he's compassionate and anxious for his parts and parcels who, like you and me, who are stuck in this material world and are suffering. So Krishna is anxious to take us back home, back to Godhead. So anyway, Krishna's will and desire are sure to be fulfilled. We have to surrender. So it's not like Krishna never overrules our independence or our minute independence to neglect him. If we want to neglect Krishna, he doesn't force us to surrender to him, but he urges us, he preaches to us, he comes, he's anxious to get us back home, back to Godhead. But we have to make our choice of our own free will. And anyway, so the compassion of Krishna is represented is personified in Srimati Radharani. Anyway, I talked for a long time about that, so I'll just read through this because I don't think we have time to go back and forth on this, the next verse. I'll read through it. Nakam kuro patita ritsaroruham Vishvijitasyano charan udayutan aham samastan nakashastrapanivir Jodandayuto nukatan sashashaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had many, many arms, first uprooted Hiranyakashipu's heart, and then threw him aside and turned toward the demon soldiers. These soldiers had come in thousands to fight with him with raised weapons and were very faithful followers of Hiranyakashipu, but Lord Nrsimhadev killed all of them merely with the ends of his nails. Repeat that after me. The Supreme Personality of Godhead.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead,
Who had many, many arms.
who had many, many arms,
First uprooted Hiranyakashipu's heart.
first uprooted Hiranyakashipu's heart,
And then threw him aside.
and then threw him aside,
And turned toward the demon soldiers.
and turned towards the demon soldiers.
These soldiers had come
These soldiers had come
in thousands
in thousands
to fight with him
to fight with him
with raised weapons
with raised
and
weapons,
were very faithful followers
and were very faithful followers
of Hiranyakashipu.
of Hiranyakashipu.
But Lord Nrsimhadev killed all of them
But Lord Nrsimhadev killed all of them,
merely with the ends of his nails.
mainly with the ends of his nails.
Prabhupada's purport. Since the creation of the material world, there have been two kinds of men, the Devas and the Asuras. The Devas are always faithful to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas the Asuras are always atheists who defy the supremacy of the Lord. At the present moment, throughout the entire world, the atheists are extremely numerous. They are trying to prove that there is no God, and that everything takes place due to the combinations and permutations of material elements. Thus, the material world is becoming more and more godless, and consequently, everything is in a disturbed condition. If this continues, the Supreme Personality of Godhead will certainly take action, as he did in the case of Hiranyakashipu. Within a second, Hiranyakashipu and his followers were destroyed, and similarly, if this godless civilization continues, it will be destroyed in a second, simply by the movement of one finger of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The demons should therefore be careful and curtail their godless civilization. They should take advantage of the Krishna consciousness movement and become faithful to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, otherwise they are doomed. As Hiranyakashipu was killed in a second, the godless civilization can be destroyed at any moment. Om again, Tumarandasya, Nirjana Shalakaya, Ksharamanitam Nina, Nayashri Gurave. That's another warning by Prabhupada in his purport. There are many places in Prabhupada's purports and lectures where he warns about this. Then we just look at that verse in the 12th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the age of Kali is an ocean of faults. It doesn't mean, it's like if you're in the ocean, there's water everywhere. You're surrounded, there's nothing but water. So it's not like there's a drop of water here and a wave of water here. And you're in the water. There's nothing but water. So in Kali Yuga, there's nothing but faults. There are religious people. It's not like there's no spiritual culture anywhere in the world in Kali Yuga, but it's a very small thing in general, especially in the material world in general, but definitely in Kali Yuga, there's very little true religious, godly feeling. And it's decreasing as time goes on in Kali Yuga. Everywhere you look is nothing but fault, and so much so that people think it's good to be irreligious. It's good to just get a lot of money and mistreat people and get whatever sense gratification you can. It's a good thing to exploit the resources of the material world. It's good to be envious. It's good to be hateful. It's good to be cruel. It's good to be lie. It's good to cheat. It's good to, the godly qualities, the ungodly qualities are to a large extent glorified in the United States, definitely, and meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling are everywhere, and they're glorified as good things. So what could be, you could say, oh well, they're ignorant, they don't know. That's true. It's true. They're ignorant. They don't know. But that they're ignorant. The conditioned souls are ignorant and don't know anything, not by accident, but because everyone is envious of Krishna. It's not like, everyone does have an opportunity, even if they're not followers of the ISKCON, the Krishna consciousness movement. Everybody has some idea of godly qualities. They've at least heard about these things and understand that they're, to some extent, that it's considered good to be merciful. It's considered good to be charitable. It's considered good to worship God sincerely. Everyone has some idea of that, but when everybody around you is saying the opposite, or glorifying the opposite qualities, the demoniac qualities, you become influenced by that. If you you become influenced, and you start acting. It becomes okay. Well, what can I do? That's what everybody says. These things that I've heard are ungodly, but everybody says greed is good. Everybody says, what's nothing wrong with being angry at people, nothing wrong with killing people, nothing wrong with this, with that, nothing wrong with meat eating, nothing wrong with illicit sex, nothing wrong with taking drugs, nothing wrong with gambling. Everybody knows these things are promoted everywhere in society, so how could they be bad? Everybody's good, everybody's doing it, everybody says it's good. Why should I be left out? So anyway, so everyone is either demoniac by nature, everyone is demoniac by nature to some extent, but you be demoniac by nature, or most people are followers. Most people are easily influenced by more powerful people, and so you can just, well, what's wrong with it? So God, Krishna comes in the form of ISKCON in human society, in the form of Prabhupada's preaching and Prabhupada's purports. This is a very heavy purport. It would continue to be envious of Krishna and disobey all the laws of God, and human civilization can be destroyed in a minute. Nobody could do anything about Hiranyakashipu. Lord Indra was afraid of him, all the demigods. If Indra and the demigods are afraid of him, then what am I going to do? And so no one could do anything about Hiranyakashipu until Lord Nrsimhadev came and killed him like that in a second. No one is powerful in the face of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone is helpless. And so Prabhupada's purports contain Prabhupada's purports contain everything. There's all the assurance and instruction about how to become a pure devotee and give up all sinful tendencies and go back home, back to Godhead, very, very quickly, in one lifetime, go back home, back to Godhead. Mostly Prabhupada's preaching is about that, how to make people happy, how to make everyone happy and go back home. But there are many purports like this, many purports, warnings against the impersonalist, warnings against the demon scientists. Mostly Prabhupada considered material science to be demoniac. That's why he preached against it so frequently. Science in itself is not, actually the word science means to know. So the word science, it can't really be applied to what they call science now, because they don't really know, and they have a few little ideas that turn out to be right, and they can make a computer or design a new drug that can alleviate some symptoms. They can build a rocket that can fly to the moon. They can do a few things, but in terms of actually really knowing the most essential, even the most basic facts of how the material energy works, there's no idea of understanding how the spiritual energy works. They don't even believe in it. They think there is no God. And Prabhupada says here, the present moment, throughout the entire world, the atheists are extremely numerous. They are trying to prove that there is no God and that everything takes place due to the combination and permutations of material elements. Everything happens by chance. Everything comes into existence by chance. It's a really weird theory. It's a really weird idea. That's there. If you don't believe in God, then it comes down to that. If you don't believe in God, you don't believe in intelligent design, you don't believe in a supreme creator or controller, then where does everything come from? I don't know. Oh, I have an idea. It just happens. And it's all in it, and how do things develop? By chance. That's all you're left with. There is no other alternative. But that's, and they're like that, and they make it sound, they present it with big words and volumes of books and everything that make it sound like it might be reasonable. Maybe they're right. It's not that they're not intelligent, but they're maya pritagana. Their intelligence is stolen by illusion. But so anyway, science, the word science means to know, but they don't really know anything. It should be called it should be called trying to figure things out. I go to MIT, I'm in the department of trying to figure things out. And, we don't really know anything, but we're trying to figure it out. But it's not science. Science refers to Krishna. Krishna is the creator, he's the knower of everything. I'm the compiler of Vedanta, the compiler of Vedas, and the knower of Vedanta. It is me who is to be known by all the Vedas. Veda means knowledge. So Krishna is the source of all knowledge, and he's the person who knows everything. So if you really want to be a scientist, if you really want to know something, then you have to be a Krishna conscious scientist. There's nothing wrong with experimentation and trying to understand how Krishna's material energy works, but it's a good thing. We used in Krishna's service, in the Bhaktivedanta Institute, or so many people, Swayam Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj is coming here now to study at Harvard. I assume to get some advanced degree so he can preach in these elevated circles. And say, well, look, I got my degree, so you can listen to me. That's the whole idea behind the Bhaktivedanta Institute, just to show them, I got my degree, so you should listen to me. Anyways, if you really want to be a scientist, then you have to be a Krishna conscious scientist. And then it's fine. You use it in Krishna's service. But aside from that, you can't know anything. For sure. Anyways.
Good.
No. Yeah, an example I always give is like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. So elements, material elements. And so somebody from MIT would say, or Harvard, they would say, what is this simplistic stuff? Earth, water, fire, air. We're getting down to business, we're examining, we know all the periodic table, and we're analyzing the elements down to their atomic structure, and we have the Hadron Collider, and we're bumping atoms into each other, and we're finding out, we're getting down, we're actually, you people, you have this book, Earth, Water, Fire, Air, Ether. That's what they'll ridicule it, they'll make fun of it. That's your science. But the thing is that Krishna presents it like that. If Krishna wanted to, he could go into infinite detail about what earth is, what water is, what fire is. You could go into it at so much detail that your poor little brain would explode if you even tried to understand what Krishna was saying. So he just said, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. And if you're a devotee, you think, well, good enough for me. That's Krishna's explanation, so that's what he wants me to understand, so it's good enough for me. But Krishna knows that we're tiny, we're insignificant. Anyway, so the science can be used, and anything can be used in the service of Krishna, and including science. And then it's not demoniac anymore. The computer is not demoniac unless it's used for demoniac purposes, but if it's used for Krishna consciousness, it's it's an asset in pure devotional service. The cars have practically destroyed the world. They're in the process of destroying the world with machinery and everything. But cars can be used for going to someplace to preach, and it's like a flower airplane, or taking someone to Vaikuntha. But it depends on how we use everything. But there are so many warnings by Prabhupada about people denying the existence of God and using everything for sinful purposes. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. Any questions or comments? Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
कहीं तो गया है ये बहुत हार्ड है स्टडी बंद करने से आवाज नहीं जा रही इससे नहीं फर्क नहीं पड़ा मैं आज ट्राई कर मेरा पास जो है वो थोड़ा सॉफ्ट है सॉफ्ट होने से क्या अंदर बसता है